The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody had a good day today. I hope you all had a chance to read the disclaimer. So just to point out just a couple of points on that disclaimer, I think it's very important. I'll give everybody a chance to have a little read through it for those that haven't as yet. As I do not know your personal financial circumstance, so I cannot take any consideration as personal advice whatsoever. This is only general investment advice, and if you wish to do any more than that, you need to speak to your own personal financial advisor. So without further ado, I'm just going to start flicking over to the main screen. Typically, I'll do the usual thing. I'll start off with the main ones, your Dow, your S&P, gold, oil, and then we'll do some shares that's been requested and some of the currencies. So I'll just switch over in just, give me a sec. Okay. Flicking over now, just one second. Okay. Now, I've got the Dow up, and again, every time I analyze any particular instrument that's been requested, with this particular computer of mine, I always leave it exactly where I left off. So next time when we come back to it, when it's requested, in this case I do this every fortnight. So basically it is as we left it a couple of weeks ago. But as usual, we always should start on the longer time frame, and let's go back to the monthly. And this is what the monthly looks like. As we can see, it really, on a monthly long-term point of view, it is still a rising wedge. No matter which way we cut it, and I'll just clean it up just a little bit. I'll just remove this little bit here. And you can see the top of the resistance, the bottom of the support. This bit was the original small rising wedge that we had. Although we call it small, it's quite a number of months there. It did break down. It didn't quite, as we said originally last time, went as low, probably 500 points from its original target, and then recovered and rallied and so forth. And it is where it is now. We had originally drawn this red line here, cutting right across to see where major resistance was, and as we can see, it came to this point, failed, then came back up. It took some months to get across, managed to go above it. However, even though it's managed to get above it, we can still see as a major resistance point there. We do have 1, 2, pretty much 3 touches. Okay, this is considered 3 touches. In fact, probably even considered 4 touches just there. So it is a major point, not saying it can crash and go below. We only trade what we see, not what we think is going to happen. Again, it is a rising wedge. The only time it becomes a definite rising wedge when it does come and break below the actual support point, and off it goes and reverses back up. So from that perspective, it's still in an uptrend, regardless of what we see happening here, but it is still, basically it looks like it is a rising wedge at least anyway. So we have to wait and see what transpires. Any trading, when I see things like that so far in advance, anything that I look at is very, very short term. I wouldn't consider taking a long-term position. We're sort of way past that point right now. Going to a weekly, and what the weekly tells us on a weekly basis, you can see when we look at the rising wedge, this particular move down the bottom here, right at the bottom back in, 209, you can see where this red candle is up and the green one straight up. That's where that long tail is, and we really have taken the line from here. I'll just draw it. So because if we look where it is on the monthly, we really took the line from there because that's a tail at the bottom, and you can see how that transpires. That's where it really looks like that. Okay, that's what makes that support line on the monthly. I'll just remove it because it's not the same in the weekly. So what I'm trying to endeavor to do, just to explain to you how it all works. On the weekly basis, we've got to take it lower. And as we can see from a lower perspective, we got it first touch. This still is considered a touch. It's pretty close to a touch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, break. So it had 7. even though the price has actually gone much higher than where it broke from, it really is, you can see it's hitting this line and continually trying to struggle. If it does manage to reverse from here, you can see even though the highs are here higher, and I'll zoom in so you can see it a little bit better actually. And just switching over, there we are there. As we can see where the highs are, you can still, it's within this range here. Remember, this is a weekly. If for some reason we don't know yet, you know, time will tell, if this basically turns around there and comes back down, this potentially can be a double top. We don't know yet. I keep stressing that point. We don't know yet. But we will have to, if going forward, if the Dow, is it going to go higher, is it going to come back down? The fact remains is, this is where these lines belong. Like, you know, we can clean them up a little bit, but primarily belong here. Now, if we were to consider, is this going to go higher to go back to this particular dash line, which is the top of the resistance point, which is a fair way to go when you look at it. I mean, this is at 18,160, and up the top here is probably there 18.5. So from down 17.6, whatever it is here, to 18.5, there's 900 points. So, you know, we're talking about if it goes up, it's still a fair way to go. However, if we were to see it's going to go higher, we really got to close above this point here. You know, if we don't close above this point, it's going to struggle in this area. So it is, what this is saying is probably more sidewards than anything else at the moment. And again, upside, I think, is still limited, at least for the short term. Long term, anything goes, but I would say we would have to consider a reasonable correctional size before it really starts hitting leaps and bounds again. Just looking at the chart as it stands. To daily, let's have a look at the daily now. This is the last flag that we had, and we can see that was its target. It came short of its target. It went back below its previous high and stayed below its previous high. So again, that signifies more, it looks possibly like a sideward move. Now, if you were to take the line from up here somewhere and draw it like so, it could be looking like a bit of a broadening formation also here to this target. So what we'd be looking with this, anything that we do, as I said, is very short term, nothing more, considerably short term. So that's really what the Dow is, not a great deal. I suspect, now just we'll go and have a look at the S&P 500. I suspect it should be the same. INX. Okay, oops, back. GMK. And just getting the update. And again, what we can see with the INX, again, it's all inside. You can see in the weekly. Well, let's go to the monthly first. We can see all inside the monthly. Again, huge rising wedge. It's all inside, pretty tight, plenty of touches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is all inside here. So I would suspect when this does correct, it'll be a sizable correction. Now, go back to the weekly now. Again, on the weekly, we're back down to close to the bottom. So again, I suspect there'll be a bit more consolidation at this point than anything else. You can see it's a very strong move. We can count again, 1, 2, in this case 3, 4 touches, and we're pretty close to the 5th touch at the moment here. So we'll see what transpires on this. Let's see if we can look at shorter term on the daily. That's where the last target was. It came pretty close to it. Might have been only what was it here? I think the high is there around 2,118 to 2,122. So it came within 0.9 here. In fact, it probably came within 4 points of its target and basically reversed back down. So again, pretty close. So we really got to watch what we're seeing, what we can do to say what else, what other information does it give us. We can extend this particular line to so, and what have we got here? Let's extend that, just chop it there, and see if it's going to come back here. And what we can do with the other one is go again from here like we did with the Dow, and you can see this is even better position. And it really is just going into this little channel the way it is now. It could be more sidewards than down here. We won't know. The only time we would consider a bit of a down motion on this, it really's got to break obviously below this level, and on the weekly we are pretty close to the main trend line here. So I would be surprised if it breaks and closes below in one fell swoop. I would suspect if it does break, I would probably see a recovery back in. I think there should be more consolidation here. I guess what we're saying, anything that we do here is extremely short term, so you need to really take care of that. The next one we will look at is, let's go straight to oil and just have a look at oil. Here we are again. I suppose we really should be looking, someone's asked for Santos later, so that really is probably a better guide than anything else. We can see with the oil, as we said last time, there's nothing a great deal. There is lower targets here. We're seeing a bounce, but as I said, there is lower targets to come on the monthly. The weekly, we really don't have that much also at this point of time. We had only one target at the time, and that's out of the pattern that we had, and just having a closer look at that. And that's all we can really say about it. There's not much more we can. Ideally, we needed a bit more data to make a better informed decision on the daily. Unfortunately, we don't have that. So we don't have true highs and lows. We only have whatever the last sale is and adding it up for the weekly. So oil, more of a bounce to retest. So we don't have much more information to say any more than that. So we would probably can't use this as a true guide as yet, but we can look at individual stocks and we'll go from there. I'll do Santos first and see how we go. Going to gold actually would be a good thing to see right now. Let's have a look. XGO minus, we've got it just here. XAG equals yeah. And here we go here. Now that's interesting. Last time we had a look at it on the daily that we put a flag, and we can see what that comes out of it, but we'll come to it shortly. Let's look at the monthly, always a long term. We had originally, as we did this mare's tail, and this is our little warrior we were looking at, and if we clean it up a little bit so we can see it a bit better up here, let's have a look how we can draw this a bit more. Probably there. So you can see if this breaks below here, we should get an acceleration to that. Again, we don't know if that's going to break below because that's its main support area, but it certainly is heading in that general direction. So you can see this is the tail that swoops around. The bottom is obviously a little better than the top, but it's still part of it. We said this was a huge broadening formation, and you can see from the bottom going up, that's going all the way up. And you can see the wide broadening formation from the top to the bottom of the support, and we saw that part broken. However, when he bounced up, we can see the retest of the top here at the top point of around nearly the $1,300 mark, and again we saw the decline, which basically formulates this mare's tail. It's not the cleanest mare's tail, I'll be honest. On the top, on the bottom it is, but not the top, but it is part of still a mare's tail. So if he does manage to break this $1,100 or so mark, you will have a free fall to around the low $900. Let's look at the weekly, and this is how the weekly looks like. We had your basically resistance, it did break it, and again we cautioned last time we looked at this, be careful because of the monthly resistance point. Certainly failed there. It did hit this little target of ours, which happened to be on the line also, and down she came. So really right now this line here of resistance is really quite irrelevant, so we need to really remove this because it's gone past that point. What we've got to do is draw one from here to here. As you can see, resistance, resistance, pretty close to resistance, on the line resistance, and fail. That's what it's looking. We can further extend. Where's my cropping thing here? Extend that to there, so you know where the other resistance point is. And like I said, if that goes, if it falls through there, then basically we do have the lower targets. We can even get a target of this particular point to go lower. And in fact, even this line in here now is irrelevant. That's irrelevant, it's broken below it. So all it's looking at is like so at this point of time. Okay, that's all we can do with the weekly. And now we go to the daily. Last time we looked at the webinar, on the daily we can see this broad information which broke on the downside from the broad information. And I'll just exchanging still actually, here we are, sorry. On the daily there's a broad information. And as we can see, this, we said before, this line's irrelevant anymore. I'll just get rid of it. We'll redraw it a bit later, just squeeze it all up. Where are we here? Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And we can go from here. Like so. And at the bottom here. Now, we can also have a little test on this line. What is the fit better? There, if we take it to the body, do we get any better result? And the fact is, it really doesn't. So we can leave it there. And I'll just expand it back. As I pointed out on the last webinar, last Thursday, fortnight ago, we were looking at a potential bearish flag here. And yes, it broke through, and it broke through this broadening formation, and we didn't know where it was going to break, so it did break at this point. So let's do a target out of it. The target is really from at the top of here. Let's get the price targeting tool there. Right at the top here to the bottom of the flag to the breakout point was just there, and that's where the target came in at. It went somewhat a bit lower than that, but it has sort of back into that area at the moment. So I guess what we're saying is, I think just watch it very carefully and see where the pattern transpires here, and then act accordingly. And of course, if you're trading shares in gold, you need to have a look at that in comparison to the other. Sorry, somebody just asked me a question. I mentioned last time I was going to talk about more, personal financial advice, and I was going to get some information and tell everybody about it. I apologize, I don't have that in additional information for those that were interested. I'll make it available. I'll make a note not to forget this time. I totally forgot about it. I'll make it available at the next webinar. I really do apologize for that. I had a few things on and sort of skipped my mind, unfortunately. I'll continue on. So gold basically would be around, as it is, around the $1,165 mark, and we can technically target out of this broad information, by the way. Now, how you do this, how you target out of a broad information, at the top, the most recent high, to the most recent low, to the breakout, which is there. Now, I'll just put auto size on. And as we can see, the target is down to the 1,084 mark, a lot closer to the 900s, I must say. So from this formation, we can do a target. It has broken out of it, so it's legit. But remember, we have a major support line about 1125 or so. So expect consolidation on that particular point regardless. Unless, so I wouldn't be trying to go into it around this line. If you're not in already, if you didn't get in from this particular bearish flag, I would wait to see what other format or other pattern develops here that makes it bearish to continue onto its merry way. So if you don't get that, I wouldn't be jumping in this. If you get another bearish flag here or something, or at a lower time frame, 60 minutes or 180 or whatever, that basically signals lower prices to come, then yes, I would then jump in. But I wouldn't just jump in, I wouldn't be chasing it. That's gold for you. I'll just tick that off the list. The next one, the ASX 200 XJO. Let's have a look at that. Okay, ASX 200. Let's have a look. Here's your monthly. Now, As I said last time, originally this was the part of the resistance of the rising wedge. However, it failed and broke above. So that pretty much says, you know, there's no rising wedge anymore, not on the XJO anyway. So what do we look at? What we also looked at is where the next potential resistance point is. And what we've done is we took this line here, the support line, cloned it and fitted it just above. And why it becomes valid is because here, this point, the line becomes support. At this point, it becomes resistance, 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 and of course resistance here. Now, it hasn't hit the top here. Yes, it's got more room to move up. So basically, we're displaying it. Any upside is limited to here at this point. So any trades to the upside, we have to take into account this resistance point. So yes, we would look for entry points, but remember, this is monthly. And, you know, from where it is down here, which is what are we looking at? Across here. We're looking around 58.47 or so. Till any upsides to probably up here, we're looking at over 6,100. So 58.47 to 6,100. You're still talking, you know, almost a couple hundred points, bit over 250 points or so. So yes, there's still adequate upside from that perspective. We're still keeping this resistance line here because now, while the price is above it, that's classed as support. Now that would support the line. It's like a sandwich, like this is. What it is, as it broke below on the upside, even though it broke below, now on the upside that becomes resistance. This is in reverse. So that becomes support now. Okay, so it is inside this particular range between support and resistance. So what this could signify, we'll look at lower time frames of course, this might slowly go upwards, but slowly. You know, maybe these huge accelerations are gone at the moment, you know, so on a monthly. So it might be edging up slowly. That's what that basically says. If we look at the weekly, what we have to contend. This was a weekly rising wedge that obviously broke below and it went only so far, didn't continue, and then obviously it has gone on the upside. So what we do is if we were to extend this line, because this is an important line, okay, let's just go back here. And as we can see, the price is sort of going above it, then back below it, so it's in a struggle. That's why we're probably saying this probably go up sideways slowly, okay? So what we did say, however, this is the pattern that we had here. It's pretty much a descending triangle. Gave us a target. As we can see, it hit the target, and it's doing what it's doing. It's consolidating. Okay, it might be a consolidation of a few hundred points here, but it's still consolidating. I guess this probably reinforces that upside's going to be slow. It's not going to just bolt up here. It's going to be slow growth. You might have the odd push up really hard, but you'll find it come down after a while and so forth. It does not say the end is over. Again, if we were to extend, add a new line to this now, because we've got a higher high. This high is higher than this. This is a low that was pretty much, where was it? Just to confirm this. Look, here it is here from that point of view, but these lows here are, this is lower than those lows, so you had a lower low. Now, what we can do is go from here and also add a line from here and add it there. Now we can technically put it there. If we have to adjust it, we can take it lower. Now the reason I put it there is because there's one touch, there's another touch, and there's another. So in that space, I've got 3 touches, plus here, I'll call that 1 because it's pretty close together. So we've got 4 touches. Now, that's pretty good. This line is valid going up, and that line is sort of valid going up because there's resistance there. I know it looks a little bit messy, but the fact is it is valid, and when it's valid we have to really go by the rules. So on the bottom of this line, it's basically trying to go up is resistance. On the top of the line, it's support. So what will end up happening once this is better established, we'll be removing this line, and then just to show you what it might look like, it'll be looking like that. So then this line becomes here, that would be on top, and that's Mary Way. All right, now I know it looks much cleaner than that, but the fact remains is it's going to struggle between there. In other words, below this line, this red candle, above that line, that candle, so it's struggling. It's got to establish itself first. Once that's out of the way, then this line can be moved, but it's got to be there for a little bit longer. I know that's an overwhelming, winded explanation, but it's best to understand it in some detail. We go to daily now. We can see the first target here that was reached out of our targets, and unfortunately it reversed, and we know why, because it's close to the resistance point, so it just took any bit of news and it will send it tumbling. Basically we hit a number of targets on the way up, so let's clean them up. They're not valid anymore. They've been hit, and we moved on from there. Let's just clean them up. Okay, and they are valid still, so we'll leave them alone. I'll just get rid of this at the moment. Now, what have we got here? What can it tell us? We hit one target. There was high targets. It fell away. What are we going to do? Well, ideally, we need to see more pricing here before any real judgments can be done. Out of this pattern at the bottom here, which is basically not quite a symmetrical triangle, but try to be as close as possible to it, gave us higher targets. They came pretty close, I have to say, but again, sometimes close enough is almost good enough, but that's the best you can do. Is this potentially, I'll just get my trend here, is this potentially something bigger? I don't know as yet. And if it is, you're going to be doing the flag from up down here. Now, it wouldn't be the cleanest, but if I had to rate it out of 100, I'd probably give it 65%. Only because we had a flag there and a little one there, but because this pole is so long and this is so big, it almost justifies it. Now, if it manages to do that, if it does, go from there to the top of the bodies, this is more conservative. Look at that. If it does that. But remember, there's a lot of brick walls in between. So what I personally would do, if this breaks above this particular line, because remember, if I break this down to 60 minutes, and this is how I probably would trade it, this becomes a channel. And out of a channel in a 60 minutes, you go click from this bottom to here and to a breakout, then from here to the top and then a breakout. This gives you patterns up here. What I would be doing is I would be only trading it to the top here, my friends. I would only go to that level. Now, if it goes higher than that, then I'll start looking at this bigger one. Only then, okay? So if I was trading this, I'd be only trading on a lower time frame. I'd be a lot more cautious here. There's nothing more I can really say unless this goes higher, then we can start drawing lines this way and so forth. But there's nothing more I can really say other than maybe drawing a line from here. If it breaks below lower, that's all we can say. This might be support. So if it breaks on the upside, I would only trade it to this point, short term. If I'm in early enough, maybe I'll hold it for a while longer up here if it gets there. And then if it manages to break through, then I can be on a run. But that's the only way I'm going to do it. Now, because we did targets to that, if we target, and I can't recall if we did this yet, I'll just double check it. I think we have. From here to there to the breakout, yeah, that's the one we did. That's fine. It actually does go all the way to here, just doubled up. There you go. So that's the maximum move from this move here, is there where we are. And pretty close, almost on the line right now. You can see it right on the line, that high. So be very careful in doing it. The only way this is going to occur if it goes past this point, and this is actually a flag. We don't know yet, and that is not the cleanest. I would only rate it at 6.5 out of 10, 65%. Okay, so it's not the cleanest. I will remove that because I don't want anyone to think this is what I'm, seeing it later, not looking at the entire video, and then basically saying, oh, he said at that level. Okay. That was the XJO. Now, the other, I might as well, we did all before, so let's look at Santos I've been asked for, STO. Okay, Santos, monthly. Well, on the monthly, as we can see from this symmetrical, we can see that more targets to go down. So we really can't get more than that. I mean, the trend, you can see it's broken on the downside, the pattern suggesting lower targets to come. So let's have a look at the weekly now. Does the weekly give us anything? Okay, what does the weekly give us? Let's have a look here. There. Not really the best, is it? So look here. How many bars have we got? $13 bars. Still valid. I would basically look at this little symmetrical triangle. I would go from here first to the first touch here to the breakout point there. Second touch is from here. Look, I'll do the biggest one. There's a couple of targets in between also. So basically, this is calling it down to the low $6, $6.05 here from where it is now. So Santos on the weekly saying lower prices to come, down to $6.05. And oh, what happened to my screen then? Just went a bit dark and it's back again. Let's watch that. The daily, that's a while since we looked at this. Let's clean it up a little bit. We're doing this, drawing the zigzags. That, it actually is there. And I'll explain why. It's actually. Now, why did I, just for the sake of the pattern, why did I chop this candle out? What I'd done, because the opening price is at the top and closed on the line, I use the closing price now because most of the data is inside this line. We treat that as a freak. It occasionally occurs. Someone accidentally pushes the computer screen and goes into a high price and into a frenzy and brings it back down and is not really a true representation of where the price is. So the occasional freaklet that occurs, so we bring it lower. And as we can see again, is pretty much what I've done on the weekly. And again, the same patterns you can target from here. And the biggest one is from here to there. There is shorter ones as I did before on the weekly, down to $6.14, the lowest point on the daily. That's the way I would be treating that. Now, if it actually gets there, you can get a bigger target off the weekly. I won't do it, but I'll explain it. And I'll just go to the weekly chart, back to it quickly. The reason you can do a bigger target is that this is 13 bars, okay? The 13th bar is a breakout. What we said between flags and pennants is that you can have on a weekly a minimum of 2, a maximum of 13 to treat it as a pennant. That actually is a pennant also. It's just that it's very large and sometimes very hard to believe. What you can do is you can actually go to this point here at the top, and I'll do it, but then I'll remove it from here to there because it's already broken and it's got a close under there also, obviously. You can see that brings it down to $4. Okay, $3.95 to $4.14. That's what that target gives. I can't say it's going to go there at this point, but this is where I'm happy first. I'm comfortable to say I'm looking at the low $6 mark. I'll remove the big one, however. Okay. If it goes to the $6 mark, obviously you can say, you know what, there's more prices to come down, but that's what I'd be considering first. If anyone's got any question, any of this, just remember, put your hand up or just type in the message. Oh, we got one. What about the gap around $10 right here, right there? Now I know we say that eventually all gaps will be closed, and sure enough, I'm sure it will, but not before it goes to at least around the $6 mark, and then we'll see after that. According to this pattern that currently exists, if you do it on the daily especially, that's pretty much symmetrical, well, pretty close to it anyway. Okay, I mean, what you do is you draw your lines, you know, the way you do things like so on the daily, as you can see I'm drawing, and it actually broke. That's where it is right now. Okay, it's broke there. As long as it closes there by the end of this week, which is tomorrow, so as long as it stays below, then this has had a break. The only thing that's still supporting this, and if it still doesn't continue to go from there, is this, is coming to a previous low, which has been before down to $6.96 or almost $7 there. Now, if it fails, by the way, that's where it fails. But the whole idea is to go, when you short this or sell it, you obviously sell it above 760 or whatever it is up here, and you're riding it to the downside to at least, you know, under $7, if not down to low $6. That's the way you're supposed to be treating it, because it has broken below. And that's why how you determine the risk-reward profile. Is this return good enough for this risk? So that's how you have to look at it. The next one I was looking at was IPL. I was asked to do IPL. Just remember, if anyone, anything specific you want to get done, you need to basically email it to us, as other people have done here, and basically let us know which ones you want answered, and we'll analyze them as live as we're doing it now. Okay, what have we got? IPL. Monthly. We've hit a target. Okay, so we hit a target on the monthly, and what you normally expect is any monthly or weekly target, usually there's consolidation. If we go to the weekly, my screen just the other one gone blank for some reason, and back again. We look at the weekly, and we can see the weekly target has also been hit. Is there higher targets? Yes, there is. There's a target up to around 425. So between what, 410 to about, or 15 to about 425. What we have got, well, one thing we must note is when we have a target on a monthly or a weekly, we should always expect there will be some consolidation, and that can go from anywhere to, you know, a couple of weeks to, you know, 8 weeks. Because there will be other patterns. Obviously, if it's a couple of weeks to 8 weeks, there is other patterns that form on the daily and so forth. Now, is there a higher target of this? Well, what we can do, and I think the maximum from this pattern I think we've actually got, which is done from this triangle here, what can be happening here, this might end up being, I'll clean it up a little bit so we can actually see what I'm going to do next. Okay, just there, and I'll clean that one for a minute. I'll put the targets on later again. What might be happening here, I didn't do a very good job there. I'll do it again. I'll redraw that again. Well, we're not sure yet. This might be the case, but we'll have to watch it. Like so. This might actually developing a flag. Now I'll put the target back on that we had before. That's the target that we had. There is a higher one, but let's just leave that one there at the moment. The 425 is the higher one. So basically, this what could be happening. Now, I guess what we should look at is this anything that looks like happening on the daily. Now let's go to the daily. This is the daily. And clone like so. And I might just edge it up a little bit like so. Okay, so that's what the weekly is, and you can see what's in the daily. Now, obviously, this is too messy to be anything decent of a flag, but the weekly looks pretty good. But what we are looking for is if it's going to continue to consolidate here, or is something else going to happen. Originally, off the daily, there was a $4.40 odd target. I'm just trying to work out where that's from. That's from here. Basically, I'll do that again so we confirm that. Yep, that's what it is. That was a more conservative one. So that was off this pennant here, and we can see it broke up, consolidating. So if we do on the weekly, the other ones, we did have a $4.40 target on the weekly. So this could actually continue on from there. So it's something to watch if you're looking for a trade, and this does break out above $3.95 or something. Well, $3.95, if it goes up towards the $4.40 mark, well, we're talking about a good 10% move. So it's something to really watch here. Okay, that's IPL. ANZ. Again, I think we've been doing that just about every week, actually. ANZ. Let's have a look again. Monthly first. Now that's quite interesting. As we can see, the ANZ on the monthly, still, again, everybody should be familiar with the rising wedge. Major support right here, resistance at the top. It's a rise, it's wedging in, basically closing in. However, this is the previous high. It's actually above the high. Now the high actually is now support. So the green, the last candle is sitting on top of that. Now this is monthly. It did close above on the monthly. That's supporting it, so it's looking pretty good. So the rising wedge is still valid on ANZ monthly, okay? It's still valid. On the weekly, we can see a price target has been hit, okay? We did have a broadening formation. We also had a different, like it was like a rising wedge on the short here, as we see climbing up. Now that become also the resistance, that red line, and at the same time the target has been hit. Now what we really got to do is see what pattern transpires in this little section here, and I think we need a bit more data on that. However, we do have resistance here, and obviously resistance a bit higher up, but again, everything that I've seen so far, what it seems to signify, yes, there is more upside, but it's not going to be, you know, leaps and bounds like the daily. We'll look at the daily one here, see how quickly we took off and just moved off. It doesn't appear we're going to get that type of move. It's going to be more slower and sluggish. If we have a look at the daily in a bit more detail, we originally were trying to work up targets, down targets, which way it's going to break. It broke to the upside. Remember, like everything else, when it breaks up, where would it fail if it breaks up? At previous highs, okay? Just be aware of that. If it breaks up, it's always at previous highs. Now, what have we got now is the question, okay? What have we got now? That's what we got now, isn't it? What does it make it? How many bars have we got? From down here to here, we're 26 bars. So it's classed as a pattern. And what pattern is this? This is an ascending triangle. Okay, that's what it is. Now, ascending triangle, as the name suggests, it usually breaks to the upside. Not always, but usually does. Okay. Target of an ascending triangle, first one, start from here to there to estimate a breakout point. It's back up here around the $36 mark. So it's telling us more upside. But as we can see, all these prices that we're doing at the moment, they are more sluggish, slower movers. They're not fast like we had before. If it breaks on the downside, and we get it wrong, and it really does go to the downside instead from here to there. I'm only estimating again, back down to $34. I'll delete that soon. So from a trade perspective, you know, if I was a betting man, I'm probably more inclined to look at the upside, because the name suggests it's an ascending triangle, not descending, suggesting higher prices to come. So ANZ, upside, but I can't see it moving in leaps and bounds like it did before. That's ANZ. Next one is WOW. What we got here also? Is it double? Now, someone asked, is it double listed? Are we talking about ANZ here? Not sure. Can you ask the question again? Also, I was asked, can you do TLS? I'll put it down and I'll see how we go with time in TLS. I was asked also a question in regards to my workspace. You know, how do you save workspaces? Very simple question, how do you save workspaces? Set up the workspace, say like I have now, and if I want to save it and utilize it anytime I want with any instrument, just from a watch list and so forth, or just adding any instrument by typing it on top, just go to File, Save Workspace As. Everybody can see that, Save Workspace As. Give it a name down here, type it whatever you want, and I called my workspace Webinars. So I just click on just cancel that for a minute. When I want to load this workspace up, I go to File. Basically, it's showing all my things that I've been doing, but when I actually start up my workspace at the bottom here, I have Webinars workspace. So if I was opening my workspace, I can search. There's all different workspaces here. Where are we? There we are, Webinar workspace. I just load this up, and hence here's my workspace. I hope that's helpful, George. Oops, cancel that. So that's all that is. Also, someone else just asked me another question. In regards to Apple Mac, now we've been saying, we've sort of said the Apple Mac version will be basically available for testing, for beta testing. Anyone that's got an Apple Mac computer, all they need to do is just go to the Phoenix website, phoenixai.com.au, click on the download page, look at the last thing at the bottom of the download page. You can download the Apple Mac version from there now. So we'll run native. There's a few still things that we need to do, but we really would appreciate, and it's really put up so for people to utilize it and give us feedback. You know, most of the features are on there. There's a few features still to be done on it, but most of it's on there. And so give us feedback, what needs improving, what would be better off. And what I'm planning to do is to probably next week sometime, maybe late next week, is run a little webinar of how to use the new version of Phoenix. Now, the only difference is, you know, you can see I'm using Phoenix here. What I'm going to do is I'll be using the Windows version, although the Windows version of the new version is not released yet. There's a few things that we're still doing on. But for those that got the Apple Mac or the iPad version, will be able to, you know, utilize by using their mouse what I'm going to do on the Apple Mac. I'll be using my the mouse, how to maybe set some workspaces up, you know, worksheets, how to create some watch lists and so forth, and sort of just give them a heads up, because we really don't have any real manuals on it as yet and so forth. The Windows version, I don't have a date on it yet. Hopefully it won't be too long before I will know what date that will happen, and then I'll run more webinars on how to utilize it more proficiently. You can have the new version installed. It will not interfere with the old version whatsoever. It uses a different set of registering it on your computer, so it doesn't interfere with old Phoenix or new Phoenix. The only difference is you cannot run them both at the same time. You can have both running on the computer, but you cannot be logged in to them at the same time. At least I don't believe so at this point in time. I hope that answers the question. I had another question. Stop, please. What was it? Sorry, just need to pull that out of here. With a few, sorry, I just had a few questions here. I'm just trying to sort out. Where are you? Question. Okay, what do we got here? I said what about the gap at $10? Is it a double? Is it double listed? I don't know which stock you're talking about. Is it double listed? So someone needs to let me know. TLS later. Oh, someone said it was. Are we talking about the double listed as in Santos? I'm not sure. Someone needs to answer that question again. With few gaps. What do you mean by with few gaps? I don't understand. I don't understand the question. With few gaps. Stock, please. What you can do if your mics work, and if you put your hand up, I can switch your mic and you can explain it in a bit more detail. Anyone that asks that, by the way. I can't answer anything else because I don't understand the question. Okay. Next. What did ANZ? I'll do WOW. Okay, have a look. Now, we looked at this how many weeks ago? Quite a while, actually. What we had seen, again, on a weekly, we can see that was a previous top here. It broke below it. I should have made a target while I was at it. This is monthly. From here to there to its breakout point is actually on the target. It came and retested it and broke below. That's terrible for the stock, by the way. Once you come up, when you break from a major pattern, remember, this is also broken through a major trend here. So this is really quite major when something like that breaks on the monthly. It also went up, retested, failed, and back below. We really got to be looking what next. I'll just get rid of this target, see if there's anything else is there. Now, if we have a close look at this monthly and we clone that, it's still acceptable, although, because we get that high above it, it's not the best, unfortunately. But again, if I had to give it a probability, I'd give it around a 65%. What it is, it's a bearish flag. That means from the top, I'll go more conservative to the bodies, to its breakout point. This is talking $24, $25, or $24.66 to $25.31. Let's see what we've got on the weekly. Here's the weekly. Again, we can see on the weekly, we drew it last time we looked at this, and we can see the resistance all the way down. It came right to the resistance and failed. Okay. Is there any other information it can give us? Let's have a look. Is there anything else? We had basically that. Actually, oh geez, I wish I saw that earlier. It's basically a rising wedge. From here to here. Oh, you're late now. I can't call this a broad information because it's gone steeper at this level of time at the moment. What else have we got here? No, nothing there. Delete that. What we can do at the moment is just that. There's really nothing more on the weekly here. Just trying to see if I missed anything else on here. No, there really isn't anything else on the weekly that I can see. On the monthly, this was actually a flag, this part here on the monthly. I really can't see anything else on the weekly. Let's have a look on the daily. As we can see again on the daily, the high right across, pretty much there. The target, I think we did the target last time, didn't we, from here? That was its original target. but what a break. I don't know. I'd like to find out why there's gaps there actually. What happened? I'll have to find out. I'll read a report later on. And as you can see, this is the bottom here. This major support. Let's have a look. Where are we here? Is there anything here? I don't know. There's two tails, two wicks here, so I'm not comfortable because there's 2 wicks. If there was one, I wouldn't mind it so much. I think if this breaks below the $29.12 mark and goes through, I'd be happy to class this as a flag. But where do you take the pole? Because there's a huge gap. That's the real problem here. Where do you take the gap from? I don't have an answer. I just don't have an answer. I don't know what to say at the moment. The only thing that we have is a lower target off the monthly, saying lower. Like I said, what you could do is, if this was a flag, you normally say, where's my pole? Now, because there's a gap, do you take the pole at the top? It's really, we're making rules as we're going along just because it might look good. So all I can say is if this breaks below it, there's lower prices to come, and I would probably go more from the monthly chart rather than the daily or the weekly, because the monthly chart, if I remember correctly, had the targets, yep, down to here, $24, $25. So if it breaks below that point, the low point that we did on the daily down here, the 29.12 mark, I'd say this is where what we will be looking at, around the 24.60, 25.30 mark, around there. Unfortunately, there really is no good clean pattern because we've done the rising wedge pattern, so it's already hit it. It really is off the rest now. If this is a bearish flag on the monthly, that's what we'll be looking at. And then remember, that's based on if it breaks below the 29.12 mark, because this monthly is March that it's broken down to, and it's not over. March, still going. So anything can happen in the monthly chart, so to speak. And that's the best I can do with WOW. The other one that was asked is WSA. No, I've never done that one before, I don't think. WSA. Yep, never done this one before. Let's have a look at the monthly chart. And it's just getting a bit more data. Must be backwards. Let's have a look. Western areas. Don't know what they do. Slow. Well, we can certainly see everything inside this consolidation. Also, what we can see is potentially, let's have a look here, clone, where's my cloning tool again? This is a bearish flag. It is monthly. It has broken below it. Again, monthly can reverse, so we need other supporting information to justify it. But however, being more conservative, I'll go from the top of the line here to the bottom to its breakout point, and that puts it down to 295, down to 272 in that area there. Let's see if we can get some supporting stuff from the weeklies and dailies. It's important, whoever is looking at this, or if they had it in their portfolio, look, this is weekly. What you had first initially, I'm drawing it bigger, but primarily, look, you had like a pennant, and that's targeting down. So if you had this back then and it broke down below, you know, again, look, as your target, and that's aggressive. Conservative, you use one or the other. So in other words, if you're using the wick on the top, you use the lowest body. and that's straight down, and there's your lowest body there, okay, down here, and breakout point, and there it is there, right on it, okay. So you can do aggressive or conservative, so you do both. You can see this came up and retested it up here now after it hits target, and you have to expect these things. So the next step is from where? So if we go from this point, cut across, you can see that way and probably that way. What do we got? A broadening formation. So this is telling us it's going to get wider and wider. It's going to be more aggressive. Where do we go from here? Let's just remove the target at the bottom so we can see a bit better. Well, the first line you can draw is from here, down to there. We need to home in on this now. There's nothing more we can do except look closer in. And here we are again. Now I'm happy to put, this line here. This is basically based on the top resistance line. I cloned it, brought it below, I touched the bottom, but I've also I sandwiched it in on this high when it was up. So that was like a resistance, went down, broke through, went up, and then became support. So this is trading in a channel. Now, yes, it can go lower. Yes, there's support here. But what we're looking at is this going to break below to trade it down? Because remember, the monthly said lower prices. We're looking for an entry point at this point. Now, I know some people might be looking at an exit point. Do I get in? Do I wait? Is it going to get a bounce? If you're in it, I would start looking at it, what happens at this point here. So it's not much lower to go. And is it going to bounce back to this level and fail and start to come down? If it does, then I get the hell out of there, because it'll come back down to here. And then if it breaks this line, of course, we go back to your daily and see what happens there. So I would myself, if I'm short already, I'd be staying in short and see if it breaks below this point, or see what happens at this point here and breaks below, hopefully, and goes down to my $2.70. But I'd be looking at this more as a short, not a long at this point. Okay. If you're not in the stock at all, I'd leave it alone at this point, because you never chase things. Always remember that. You never ever chase things. Always prepare from where you've got to go into and manage the trade. Okay, what else we got here? Hold it, one sec. Next. Macquarie Bank, MQG. We've done that one, I think. MQG. There we are, certainly have. Okay, what do we got here? Well, monthly, it actually has hit the original target on the monthly, and it's got higher prices to go. We had a number of targets on the weekly, and that also says higher prices to go. We got, in fact, high prices up to $81. Can we add anything on the weekly? No, we can't add anything on the weekly. Nothing. We can't add nothing. I'll expand it to see in case there's something else, but primarily I don't think we can. No, the weekly says higher prices to go. Actually, I'll do a trend line just to see what I got in addition. This is an accelerated trend line, I guess. And I'll clone, where's my clone tool there? Yeah. When you look at the accelerated trend line, you're certainly in the channel. And looking at everything that we've got so far, all it's saying is higher prices to come. I remember someone asking me about this, do I get in or not? And I said, as long as it breaks above here on the daily, and I'd be getting in. And I think if they did get in, they would have done rather well out of it. The current where we are at the moment, what have we got? It further broke today, and there's an additional target, probably from here. Yeah, back to around $78. So I'd be holding the long position certainly here. I think once your weekly targets start to hit around the $79 mark, especially around I think the $79 mark next. Yep, I'd be very carefully watching it, because you might get, Macquarie is one of these stocks, can reverse by many dollars all in a period of a day. I think by looking at the red bar just here, I think it was about 72 and the high is 75. There's $3 something reversal in a day. And see where it is now. So for a good trade, it's there, but certainly around close to $79, $80. I probably wouldn't wait any more than that, because the high is $81 according to this, unless there's another pattern around the 79 that says 85 or something, different story, but we don't have any other pattern there. So that's all I can do with Macquarie. AS6, okay, AS6. Okay, well, what can we say? The monthly target has been met. Okay, we can see the monthly target. I'll put it up. It's met. Normally, what do we say when it gets to monthly, any major monthly target or weekly? Most of the time, it consolidates. Weekly target has been met. Also, as we can see, it also has been met. So basically, all I can say with this is it's consolidating. If you're in it now, you're still at this point, be very careful. I'll show you why. What I'm concerned about, only if this happens, because remember, there is no other higher targets. I'll double check them again just in case I missed something out. But if this turns out to be a bearish flag, then we got lower prices to come. Okay, so that's all I'm saying. If it turns out to be a bearish flag, this might reverse and come back up here. I don't know yet. But if this turns out to be a bearish flag and comes back down and breaks, you need to be very careful. If it does, I'll do a price target, but I won't leave it on the screen. So from here to the lowest body, to its rough estimated breakout, then you're looking around $38 mark, $38, $39. Okay. So if it does that, I'd stay out of it. I'll just double check the weekly and the monthly. What I can see, you can get a higher target, by the way, but doesn't mean it can't come down to $39 on the monthly, okay? Because it has broken above the monthly target, then becomes from here. Okay, but doesn't mean it can't go to 39 first, okay? So the monthly is a long way away, because you might find it comes down there, makes a bullish flag on the monthly. We don't know yet. The weekly, however, has hit as a top price. Okay, that's pretty much where it is, the top. Monthly, more to go. Daily, if it turns bearish, short-term down. Okay, that's pretty much AS6. CPU. God, this is gangbusters. Why didn't we see it earlier? What do we got here? Well, clearly this trend has been up, hasn't it? Actually, that was there. It's got higher highs. Oh, it's really there now. Oh, where's that? Down there, not properly done. Again, looking at this pattern, it's basically an ascending triangle. On the bottom side, we can class that we got basically pretty much close to well, we do have 3 touches at the bottom, as we can see. 1 point here, 2, and if we went above, broke above, is here 3. Right across, we've got 1, 2 touches. It is monthly, and it's got a close above this, but this signifies higher prices. Now, higher prices to come. In addition, clone, oops, sorry, wrong one I touched. Clone. Again, there's your flag from here to there to there. Okay, so the flag is valid. The next target from, if it closes above, from here to there, auto size, you're talking one heck of a run here. I have no reasons to doubt it. And in addition, let's have a look at this point. There's your main consolidation area, and that's pretty much still suggesting higher prices to come. Okay, so that's CPU on the monthly. On a weekly, its accelerated trend is there. I'll clone that. So you can see it's inside a channel. And this had a broadening formation, as we can see the broadening formation. And how do we target out of a broadening formation? We go to the last bottom low, to the most recent high before it broke out, and to its breakout point, and we can see out of the broadening formation we got a $13.69 to a $14 target. God, it's nice if we actually see these things before they occur and take advantage of them. Unfortunately, that's not the case, is it? For those that have it, good luck to you. But again, remember, once a weekly price target tends to hit, we tend to see consolidation for a little bit. Okay, rarely do we see it to go straight through. Okay. In fact, even again, we've got a long tail here, but primarily that's basically a pennant. We can have one wick or tail outside, and from that perspective, we can also do a target. There you go, where it is now. I'll just remove that now because it's already there. Okay, so that's the target next. We're not far from it, I guess, at the moment, are we? On the daily, it looks ballistic. And in fact, on the daily, the last pattern is right here. Okay. Look, I'll show you 2 targets, a very aggressive take and a conservative. You can see most of the data is here. So the pole is here, conservative. And aggressive is there. Always be very careful with aggressive targets. Okay. But this one's pretty close to the target of the 360 something to 370 or 380 something on the weekly anyway. So if we have a look, where are we? 369 to $4. So that falls in line, so it's not bad, right? But you need to be careful. Okay, so that's CPU. We have ILU. What the hell is ILU? Iluka Resources. Monthly. Okay, and that's the resistance. That's why I can't stress enough. Need to be careful when you look at monthly charts. You can see that's gone up here. You thought fantastic, it's breaking up, and look what happens before the month is over. Back down. So that's why it's important to watch this very, very carefully. Okay, like initially, if we have a look at this point, look, these are there to here. These are double tops, serious double tops, and how you target from those. There's your targets. Okay, this is a falling or a falling wedge, and if it breaks on the upside, that's the reversal of the down move, but it's got to close above. Okay, so we can't really do much more. Look, there was a flag here, another flag there on this on the downside, so there were some good targets, a channel here, so there were good moves on this thing. If we go to the weekly, what do we got on the weekly? Again, looking at it from here again. In fact, okay, here it is. That's where he sticks his nose through and fails. Again, we really have to wait and see what it's going to do. All right, so it's crunch time for this thing. All right, it really is crunch time. It's got to make a decision. It's either going to come back inside it, or it's going to close above it and go its merry way on a weekly basis. And if it goes up, we've got a beautiful target on the upside. Okay. Daily. What do we got? If it breaks on the upside, fantastic it would be. Just look. Clone. What a bullish flag of that. If that holds this position and breaks on the upside, you're going to have a pile from here to the highest body for conservative, and I'm only estimating roughly where it's going to be. Look, there's your trade up. Fantastic. There's more than 10% there. What is it? If it breaks around the $8, $1.26, mate, what is it, 15% or something? More than 15%. So very important. Actually, that's not where I'm supposed to take it from, is it? No, I just squeeze it up and take it higher. That's how the daily looks, by the way. So you can see from the daily, let me squeeze it a bit more. You can see where I'm taking it from, different position altogether. It's just squashing it all up just to have a look. And let me clone this. So you can see that was there as a channel, and that's there as a closure of a pattern. Okay, so I'll just squeeze it back up, fix it all up. So this is actually quite good because it's broken above this resistance point and come and retesting it. And if this breaks on the upside, it'll be a fantastic trade. Okay, so anyone that's looking for a trade, watch this very carefully. ILU. I'll do, I was asked for Euro Aussie dollar. EUR AUD equals R. EUR AUD equals R. Let's have a look at the monthly first. Let me clone this first, see what we get. Regardless, still a channel. try it from that point of view. I hate when you get two huge wicks and you're trying to work out, where do I take it from? Do I take it from there? Do I take it from there? What you've got to try to do is, when you come up with a scenario, you've got tails, wicks, and you're trying to work out where to take it from, what you've got to do is try to determine that whatever you're working out, whatever, if there is a target involved, it will give you the least target and it'll give you the widest breakout points from where it's, in other words, where it keeps it more inside the pattern. Because what happens is, if you're wider, means that any other pattern that might form inside it, then you can close it, not before. So you're trying to capture most of the data, right? The widest point, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So what I'm doing is basically putting it there and putting it at the bottom, and I'm capturing only 1 point, because remember, if I put it there, okay, it's still valid, but the price is down here now. Okay, if the price was closer to the top, I would actually raise it, but because it's to the bottom, you know, I'm always trying to make a descending triangle if it consolidates here, let's say, on the downside. I'm not saying this is a descending triangle. I'm saying it's like if it consolidates here, I can put a straight line. It's the lowest point. So I'm trying to capture most of the data at the point where it's going, where it's going to break out from. Okay, so this is the widest point because it's going there. Like I said, if it was going on the upside, I'll be widening it at the top, not the bottom. Hope that makes sense. Now, what it's telling us, regardless, this is support. The widest point of support. It has broken this trend line, and this trend line is pretty good because you've got 1, 2, 3 touches. In fact, it broke below it and respected it by coming back above it, stopping at that point, then breaking on the last candle. So it's quite valid from that point of view. It's broken below there, but now this is where that is here. Okay, so this is its next support area, and that's all we can say on the monthly. If we go to the weekly, let's have a look at it here. Pretty much the same. Okay, so again, support area, there really isn't much. I mean, what you got, a high, a low, a high, a low, a low, a low. It's suggesting lower prices to come. If we probably get a better picture on the daily. Okay, as you can see, oops, let me just line that up. I'm not sure if this is on the line, or probably see it better on the daily. I think it's pretty much there at the moment. Let's have a look at the daily. Now you can see when we draw it from here, we've got a bit more room on the downside. So we suspect that support will occur not too far from there on the daily. Obviously, if you're trading this down to 60 minutes or 30 minutes or less, there's a lot of room to move, I guess, from a trading perspective. And of course, you got that, but how does this meet at the same time? There you go. So watch this space basically and see if it's going to consolidate around here. And that's pretty much down to daily. Let's have a look. I had an intraday one. Where to go? Euro. I think I might have closed that off actually. I'll convert the daily to intraday. Excuse me. Somebody also asked, I did get the message by the way somebody asked for BOQ, but somebody has asked me in regards to how does your line stay there? How does it remember? Very simple. on the top of the Phoenix program, next to the tick on the top here, where the tick is, you can see where I'm moving. There's this little icon here. If we click below it, just click the arrow down, you got 3 options. Off, if you don't want it to do anything, match symbol, and match simple data frequency period. Basically, if you want it to remember the lines on the weekly or the monthly, you can choose any one of them. It'll do it, okay? But if you wanted to remember the monthly or the weekly, but you don't want it to remember switching from monthly to weekly. So in other words, if you draw your lines on the monthly and you want to go to weekly, you don't want the lines to be transferred over, which that's what I prefer, okay? Basically, just stick to the last one, okay? And that's what I got it on. If you have a click on any of these, you can see the icon up there. It's the last one. What it means is it will remember everything, even the period that it's on. So if it's monthly period, it will remember the lines on the monthly. It will not switch the monthlies to the weeklies to the dailies and so forth, because it can get pretty messy when you're switching one from the other. That's why I have separate charts. Okay. I hope that answers the question. So when we look at daily, we can see this is an accelerated trend downwards, okay, look, as we can see from there, and so forth. It's even lower here. In fact, they did it there in section on top. Oh, that's not quite valid as yet then. Let's have a look. Clone, if any of these, probably here actually. That's about the closest I can get it to. And you can see, touching this one, it supports, so it's actually broke down to there. So we do have a bit of a consolidation phase here. What we've got to look at, looking at this, is this doing anything? I don't know. Is it doing a flag? There's not enough data. I'm just trying to work it out here if it's a flag or not. It might be. So if it is a flag, I think you need a couple of more bars here to really judge it better. I think a couple of more 60-minute bars, you might find this might be a flag here, and therefore there's another target down, and it will break that point. So it's like here. You really need a X amount of bars. Clone. Okay. It's like that there, and there's your target to the downside. So it really is, you need a bit more data on this. However, as we looked at the others, the downside, there's major support there. There's support there, on there. Okay. So you really got to start looking at it now from the daily and the weekly. I'll just go back to the daily here, just to repoint the dailies here. So I think you're going to get a little bit of a slowdown to that area there and a bit more consolidation, because you've got your daily there, you've got your weekly there, the monthly is still okay, but between the two, the price action is at a consolidation point at this point in time. I hope that answers that. Okay, I will do the Aussie dollar, and then I'll do a couple of the requests, additional requests. AUD. Okay. If we look at the monthly first, we can see the consolidation. It broke below this line, so this line is really ridiculous now. We don't need it anymore. It really broke below. That's where it is. See if I can clone if there's something else there. Look, maybe pretty close there. And I'll try to extend it. It might get to that level. That's what it is right now. Call a spade a spade. That's where you got support there. And basically that's a clone off that. So it's really saying we'll probably get a lower price. If we go to a weekly, I think some weeks back we did this as a flag. Okay, and realistically, I don't like to see the dollar that low, but you know, I'll go to the bodies more conservative. It's talking down to the low 73, 72 cents. It has broken below, so there's nothing I can say it hasn't broken below. It has consolidated at this point here. It's struggling. Is that going to continue? If you're already in the short that we put this last time, we did this a couple of weeks back, we said that happens. If I was in the short now, I'd be holding my short. If I wanted a long run, okay, I'd be holding my short. Looking at the daily, that's where we're looking at initially. There's your major support. We said if it's going to fail and it's not going to continue, that's where it's going to fail. Now, the fact is, if this goes back below, if you're not in at this point of time, the only time you can get in if it breaks back below the 76.207 and closest below there, okay? Now, you can take the risk, use a 60-minute or 180-minute and plan a trade out. But the fact is, this is also another pattern now. It's a consolidation pattern. And that means from the top of the consolidation to the bottom of the consolidation to the breakout of the consolidation, we have back, there's our 73 cents again. That's where our other target is. So if this closes below on the daily there, you're talking 73 cent move, down to 73 cents. Okay, 73 something there. It's under 74. Then you've got another pattern. Now, if we extend our line, this line here of support, well, there you go. Back. Now, it might take some days to do it, but look, that's back down to there again. So the channel seems to be saying it'll break down to around 73 cents. That's what it's suggesting. It might be great for exporters, but you know what? We buy a lot of goods and services, so I'd like to see it at a fair price, not ridiculous price also. I know Treasury's been trying to talk it down, so. Okay, that's the Aussie dollar. I've been asked TLS again, TLS. I'll do TLS and BOQ and we'll call it quits, I think. Look, TLS hit a target, as we can see on the monthly. And the good thing about it, the way this retracement value is being developed at this point of time, I like this development because it really is a potential bullish flag, okay? So that's on the monthly. The weekly is pretty much the same. Not the cleanest, I must say. Not the cleanest, as I said. Let's have a look how good it is. Still valid if it holds that in there. Still be valid. Looks pretty good. If we extend the line on the upside, we can get an indication that it's got room to move up. Let's see what the daily is telling us. We're in support on the daily. We're next dividend. I can understand why. And of course, what it will have, if it starts to bounce up and start to move up, potentially this can be a broadening formation. Okay, so if this starts to move up, I'll be looking for another pattern on the daily to give us another target. That's the way I'd be treating it. So I'd be watching for a position. If it breaks down, I'd be very worried because if it breaks down, you'd be going from clicking here to here, then to the breakout. Okay, so I'd watch that very, very carefully. That's Telstra, and I'll do one more, and I'll do BOQ, Bank of Queensland, I've been asked. Oh, I'm surprised. I thought we've done that before. We haven't. Okay, what do we got? This might be valid later, but there's no reason to have it there now. It's not right. This is a symmetrical triangle, and targeting out of that, the conservative target is where it is. The next target is there on the monthly, and let's look at the weekly. We should be able to replicate that too, I would think. That it's what pretty much we did, and the bigger target was from here to there to his breakout, which is your $15 mark. What I don't like so far, what I'm seeing, is this. It's what you call a horn. Now, the weird thing is a horn can also signal a change to the downside, but I think if there is a change to a downside, it'll be very, very short term. However, if it breaks the above, then we can have a higher target, which will be only a small one. It's around there. So I'd watch it very carefully, because generally horns tend to break more to the downside than the upside, what I've seen in the past, especially like the way this move looks. So if it breaks to the upside, I'd be jumping in for a quick trade. If it breaks to the downside, I reckon it's going to retest this down here. Looking at it on the daily, let's have a look here. See, normally on the daily, that's what we were looking at, like so. But in addition, this is the weird part, because I can cut one line out, which is this wick. Now, how many bars do I have here? Really, in this pattern? 19. See, normally a flag like that, we can have up to 13 bars. We've got 19 bars, so I really can't use it as a flag. However, I might use it, I don't have enough data actually, 19 bars, I can't use it as a channel. Unless you were trading it intraday, and I'll pretend this is intraday just for a moment. And I'll extend that line. Yeah, see, I think if it breaks up, you're going to have resistance here on this side as it's going up. If it belts through it straight away, yeah, you got a bit more to go. But if it struggles here, I'd be taking some money off the table around here. Pretty messy one. I really don't like little horns, but anyway. So I really can't comment any more than that. That's pretty much it, actually. I've done everything I was asked, and +2. I hope everybody got some value out of that. Like I said, I keep all my lines on there, so if anyone wants to see some of this again, how it transpires over the not sure and something, I've actually got someone putting a hand up. 1 second, I'll see if I can switch you on first. I've got a couple of people. So first one is, where are we here? Hold it 1 sec. Nigel, you're going to ask a question, mate. Hello, Nigel.
No. Yeah, you got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a question. My hand's down by my computer, so I don't know what happened there.
Oh, never mind, mate. I got someone else that'll ask then. No worries at all.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. How about you, Thomas? You wanted to ask a question? Oh, sorry. I didn't switch you on. Thomas, you want to ask a question? No? Maybe your mic that's not working. No worries at all. Well, that's about it. I hope, like I said, I answered everybody's questions that you've posted on there. If you need anything, just remember what you're going to do at the next webinar. Just ask me the instruments that you want, and as you can see, I pretty much do what people ask. I try to fit everybody in as much as possible. I think a lot of people, the questions that I get is a lot of people are looking almost at a lot of the same instruments, so it makes it nice and easy. As I said, in regards to the Apple Mac, I'm going to try to do a webinar hopefully next week. I'll be using the Windows version of the program, not the Apple Mac version, but it's pretty much, it looks the same, feels the same, but the Windows version's not quite released. Anyone that wants to tune in more then we'll open. I'll put out an email with the next webinar for the traders webinar, but I'll also set a second one for those that want to register for the Apple Mac version. And if you want to know what the new Windows version will look like, you can actually watch me. I'll be using that. Just the Apple Mac, and as I said, in the Windows will look exactly the same. Okay, so you get an idea how to use it and what's available on it and so forth. Okay, I'll say au revoir. Have a happy trading fortnight. I hope you make a good killing out of it, and look forward to see you in 2 weeks. Talk to you guys later. Bye.